About 722 AD, an English missionary named Boniface went into Germany. Now, at that time, the Germans had many deities, but no common name for a supreme being. They asked the missionary, "What's the name of this thing you're preaching about? What's the name of this one you're going about, preaching on about?" And Boniface replied, "The name is good." Now, in those days, the Anglo-Saxon spelling for good was G-O-D, and so the name stayed with English-speaking people, God, which simply means good. This is the supreme good, the great good. This might be the earliest prayer learned by children in some Christian homes. God is great, God is good, and we thank Him for our food. And not only do we learn, of course, that God is good, but also that God asks us to be good as well. Paul's advice was try to do what everyone considers to be good. I got interested, of course, in how good and evil, how they kind of fall upon the cross. Take the Roman Empire. Rome was not completely evil. It had a certain kind of justice. The most unimportant Roman citizen could still appeal to the emperor to be heard. The Bible depicted many Roman officials as honorable men. But for Rome itself, a good man was a man who didn't make trouble. A good governor was someone who kept their territory from uproars that might require military action. A good territory is one who submitted to Roman power and paid their taxes promptly. For Rome, Jesus was not a good man. He was dangerous. He was something to be destroyed. For Rome, Pilate was a good man, a good governor who kept things under control. Cross changed history's judgment on the matter. Rome had no higher authority that required justice and honor of them. They acknowledged no higher power than themselves that could call them to account. They listened to no God who said, "I desire mercy and justice." That's what the Israelite God required. But they didn't pay attention, of course, to the Israelite God. And so, in her blind power, Rome did evil and barely noticed it and felt no need to even justify herself. The affair with the cross tells us not only about power, but also about evil and pettiness, about the evil done by those who have no great power. That can be symbolized by the rabble who gathered outside the gates, because only the riffraff of society would be out at that time of night. The people with family and homes and responsibilities, well, they'd mostly be at home. A rabble was a group of people with little power. They may have done great evil in their day, but it was mostly in mean and petty ways. What difference could it make to them whether Jesus lived or died? He was an obscure Galilean carpenter, a Galilean for heaven's sakes. Sure, he'd made a stir at the temple, but lots of stirs happened at the temple, and so they cried out for crucifixion. Now, many of them may have hated Rome, but hate or not, they cooperated with Rome out of petty meanness. And so the cross reminds us that even the smallest act of wrong, the smallest act of evil, can still have great consequences. Unlike Pilate or Caiaphas, the names of these people are not remembered, but their deeds are not forgotten. And the cross tells us also about the confusion that people can make about what is good and what is evil. Now, I'm quite certain that Caiaphas and the members of the Sanhedrin did not believe that they were doing an evil thing when they tried Jesus and sent him to Pilate. You know what? They may have believed that they were doing a good thing. They must have believed that it was the best decision they could make in a dangerous world. And so the cross tells us of the evil that can be done in the name of good. A great artist once kept a number of beautiful gems before him right on his easel, and someone asked him, "Why do you store your gems in such an odd place?" And the artist replied, "I keep the gems close by when I am painting. That way I can refer to them. There's always the danger that my wet paints might fade without my realizing. Then my paintings would lose their brilliance. The color in the jewels, however, never fades. Therefore they serve as a reliable point of reference for me." Now, for Christians, the cross is our jewels. The cross is our reliable point of reference. It tells us about goodness. The cross is also more than that. I ran across a quote once from Plato. He said, "It is not the life of knowledge, not even if it includes all the sciences, that creates happiness and well-being, but a single branch of knowledge, the science of the good life. If you exclude this from the other branches, medicine will remain equally able to give us health, and shoemaking shoes, and weaving clothes. Seamanship will continue to save life at sea, and strategy to win battles. But without the knowledge of good and evil, the use and excellence of these sciences will be found to have failed us. Now, a quote from Plato is uplifting and inspiring. It's absolutely true. But one scholar points to what he calls the great fatal shortcoming in Plato's philosophy. Because at the bottom, Plato was a bad-tempered and disgruntled aristocrat, I'm told, from what I've studied at least, from both a bore and a snob. His words and his thoughts have inspired philosophers and even theologians. But Plato was never effective in putting his philosophy to work in practical situations. The scholar, his name is Zuver, tells us that the consummate fact that was crystal clear to every Israelite prophet was something that Plato never saw. That evil can't really be overcome by good ideas, but by doing good. So the cross isn't just a theology about goodness. It isn't just an idea about goodness. It isn't just the knowledge of goodness. It is the supreme act of goodness. And so it has the power to overcome what is dark in ourselves and what is dark in the world. Amen.